Hi guys, welcome to another video of Learn to Earn. In this video, you are going to learn about the top 20 mathematical formulas that are widely used all over the world in MS Excel. So let's start the video. First up, let's look at the table which we have. Here we have name of employees, company name, their designation, their seniority in year, their genders, phone number, and salary. So let's jump ahead and see the first formula, which is the sum formula. The sum formula calculates the sum of a range of cells, the most basic formula in MS Excel. So let's try it here. You see there are salaries of these employees. Let's calculate their sum total of the salaries. Let's go ahead, equal to sum, tab. So it says what is your number one, number two, and so on. So in this case, we have a range of data. So the first cell is this one. We select it, drag it down to G20, which is this cell, the last one, and close the bracket and press enter. So you see the total is around 14 lakhs or something. The most basic formula and the easiest. Now there is a shortcut also to do this. Let me just press delete, and if you press alt equal to from your keyboard, this is the shortcut for auto sum formula. So let me press alt equal to, and you see Excel is smart enough to gather the data which we are going to collect. That means it checks the adjacent cells where the user is most likely to get a sum of. Let's press enter now, and you see the same result is there. Even the formula is same. So we are done with the sum formula. Let's do the same here also. Range is from here to here, and close the bracket. Same result. Let me just also do this center alignment. Okay. Next up is the average formula, which will calculate the average of a range of cells. Similarly, like the sum, there's the average. So let's do for the same range of data, equal to average in this cell. Sorry. Let's select the same set of data and close the bracket, press enter. So the average salary of these 19 employees are 77,000. Next up is the max formula, which says it returns the maximum value from a range of cells. So in this case, let's go ahead with the same set of range, max, the same set of range here. And you see the maximum salary that anyone is getting is 98,217. So let's see who is that one. The first one only, which is Emma Johnson. She is getting the most salary in this 19 employees. In these 19 employees. Similarly, it is the min function which will calculate the minimum. Min, tab, same range, enter. And the minimum someone is getting is 53,000. Who is this one? Harper Garcia. She is getting the minimum salary. So if you have a whole lot of data, here you see there's only 19 rows. But what if you have 300 or 400 set of rows or columns? In that case, these formulas are absolutely helpful. Next up is the count formula, which counts the number of cells that contains number. So this formula will omit the cells where a string is there, but it will calculate a cell where number is present. For example, D4, for example, this cell number, it contains an integer or a number. So the count formula will count this cell, whereas it will omit this cell which has no number in it. It is a set of string. So let's apply the count formula, and for example, let's select these two cells, C4 and D4 and close the bracket. You see it gave only 1 because in these two cells, only in one cell it contains a number. So let's change the range to this. For example, if you see there are 3 new hires, so new hire is not written in number format, it is a set of string. So this will omit the new hires and give us the value of tenure employees. Let's press enter. It says 16. So yeah, this is correct. In these 19 employees, 3 are new hires. So all other are in numerical form. That means they are tenure, and it gave us 16. Next up is the count A formula, which counts the number of cells that are non-empty. Okay. For example, in this case, let's select these set of range from A to G. There are 7 cells. So, but 5 are empty. So let's try here this formula, count A, tab, select this range of data and close the bracket, press enter. So it gave us 2 because only 2 cells were non-empty. I hope you got the formula. Next up is the COUNTIF formula, which counts the number of cells that meet a specific criteria. So you see there are 3 formulas which contains if, and all the 3 formulas we have discussed this before, like we have discussed the count formula here, sum formula also, and average formula. So if formula is basically used when you give a criteria to them and then you want the calculations. So let's see the count if formula first, which tells count the number of cells that meet a specific criterion. So for example, if I want to check who all are new hires in these 19 employees, okay, so let's see how we can do that. Count if tab, what is your range? My range would be this one only, and my criteria. My criteria is that I want new hire from this range. Okay. So I have to write new hire here, new hire, and close the bracket. Let's see what happens. You see it's 0. Why? Because this is a set of string and a string should be written in inverted commas. So let's edit this and check now. Okay, we got it right now. It says 3. So in this set of range, there are 1, 2, and 3 employees who are new hires. Now let's change this criteria. Now let's say we want the criteria to be who all are the employees whose tenure is greater than 15 years. So let's change the criteria to 15 years, greater than 15 years, and it says 4. So there are 4 employees in this set of data who are more than 15 years. So let's check it manually also. The first one is this one, second one is this one. This we won't count because in the formula we have told greater than 15 years, not greater than or equal to 15 years. So this won't be counted. So 1, 2, this one is the third one, and this is the fourth one. So you got it right. Next up is the SUMIF formula, which will sum the cells that meet a specific criterion. So let's check SUMIF tab. So this is what is your range criteria and the optional argument sum range. So let's say the range should be this. What is my criteria? Let's say my criteria is I want the sum of the salaries which are greater than 90,000. So my criteria is greater than 90,000 and close the bracket. So I got 2,86,748. Let's check it manually now. This is more than 90,000. This is more than 90,000 and this is more than 90,000. No other else. So these three cells are 2,86,748, which you are getting the same. Let's change the currency here. Yeah, it's fine now. So in this case, you can find the sum based on a criteria. We can change the criteria also. Next up is the average if formula, which calculates the average that meets a specific criterion. So let's say I want the average of the employees who are only male. So this is a tricky one. Here we will use the optional argument as well. So let's jump ahead in this formula, which is the average if formula. So average if tab range. The first is the range. So my range is this one. Remember, we are going to use the optional argument here as well, which says the average range. So the average range would be the salary, because it is the salary column whose average we want. And this range refers to the criterion range. So my criteria would be based on this range, whether we want male or female. So we have selected the range of the criteria. Now let's select the criteria. We want the criteria to be male. We want the salary of males. So criteria also selected. And what is your average range? This is my average. Now we are completed with the syntax. Let's close it and press enter, and also convert it to currency format. So the average of all the male employees in this data sheet is 75,609.41. Now let's check it manually. So this is a male, this is a male, this, 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 and this. So I have selected all the males. You see the average is exactly the same. So now you have understood why there's a third argument in this case. Also, if you have noticed, in the sum formula also, there was a third optional argument, but we didn't use that in SUMIF formula. I showed you in this case. I hope you got all the three formulas which has if. Next up is the round function. So the round function rounds a number to a specific number of decimal places. Okay, t is equal to round number. Let's say I select this number and the number of digits. We don't want any decimal digit, so we will press it 0 and close. So you see, it has rounded up the value to 72561. Next up is the round up function, is equal to round up. By the name itself, you can tell what it will do. So we will select the same cell which we have selected in round and press comma, and the number of digits should be 0. So you see, it has converted, but it is a value up because it is not considering the values of the decimal. We are specifically telling that we have to round up. Next up is the round down formula, is equal to round down tab. I'll select this cell because if we round off this number, we will get 88494 if we simply round off this number. But we are specifically telling that round down, so it won't count the decimal places, and close the bracket. So you see, it has not taken into account the decimal places and given us the value less than 494 in the last. Next up is the ABS formula, which refers to the value, absolute value of a number. Let's apply the ABS formula now. ABS, let's select this cell, and close the bracket. So it basically turns your negative values to positive, and if it's a positive value, it will remain positive. For example, if I change this to positive once again, there's no change in this ABS formula. So this simply converts your negative to positive numbers. So next up is the square root formula, SQRT, which calculates the square root. So simply SQRT, I'll select this cell number only from where we have calculated the ABS. J14 I will select and close the bracket. So you see, I have calculated the SQRT from J14, which is this cell. So the square root of 9 is 3. Power. So you have guessed it, I think, J15 cell. So I'll use this formula from the J15 cell, equal to power. So there are two arguments in this. The first is the number, which is, I will put J15, which is 3, and the power, I would say I will give 4 and close the bracket. So you see, we are getting 81. This basically means 3 raised to the power 4. So 3 into 3 into 3 into 3 is what we are referring to. And if we total this, we will also get 81. Okay. So this refers to this. I hope you got it. Next up is the log formula. If you have read logarithm in mathematics, that's the same in the logarithm. That's the same with the log formula. Log, let's say any number, 9 for example, close the bracket. You see the log of 9 is 0.9542 and so on. Next up is the mod formula. This is not what you think it would be. You must be thinking that mod will be similar to the ABS formula as we see in mathematics, but it is not. The mod formula in this case will return the remainder of a division operation. So for example, let's apply mod tab number. Let's say the number is 20 and the divisor is 20. So if we divide 20 by 3, we would get 6 as the quotient and 2 as the remainder, right? Because 3 into 6 is 18, and this 18 when subtracted from 20 would give us 2 as the remainder. Let's press enter, and you see the remainder is 2, and the mod function returns the remainder of a division operation. Next up is the RAND formula, which generates a random number between 0 to 1. So if you want to create a dummy data, then it is useful. For example, if I write rand tab and simply open and close the bracket, if you notice the syntax, there's no argument in it. So let's open and close the bracket. You see, there are some random numbers generated. Now, if you need to remove the decimals, you can just simply click like this. And the more important function than rand would be the RANDBETWEEN formula, which generates a random number between given values. So it won't give the values between 0 to 1, but what we provide them. For example, if I write RANDBETWEEN and equal to, and let's say I want values between 5 to 10, press enter. So it gave us 8. And one thing you should notice here, if I change anything else in the whole Excel sheet, notice the difference in this cell. Like if I write something here, it changes. Any value in any cell I change, like here, here. You see, every time these changes, right? These two changes. So how to make it static? Simply Let's delete this too. Simply copy this and paste only the value and not the formula. Okay, so let's paste only the value. Now you notice I have changed the value here, but this I haven't changed. So if I change anything now, you see only this one is changing, not this one, because we have made the changes here. For example, see, only this cell is changing. So let's change this one also, copy and paste only the values. Now if I change anything, these are not changing. It is by the rand between formula only that I have created some of the data in this table, like salary range. So for the salary, I have done like this, equal to rand between tab, bottom value I have put 50,000 and the topmost value I have put 1 lakh. Enter. And I had just dragged it down like this so that this formula applies to every other cell. And notice every single value is between 50 to 1000 because every cell has the same formula in it. And what I did was copy this and paste only the values. Okay. Now if you change anything anywhere, this won't change. And also, as I have made these changes, notice that the sum, average, max, min, all of the data has been changed because these are referring to this column only. I hope you got it. So last one is the int formula, which is the integer formula, which rounds a number down to the nearest integer. So let's see this int. For example, let's select this one and press enter. But let's change the decimal point, then you will understand. Let's say 0.45. So if you changed it to 0.45 or rather 50, I would say I'll change it to 50. Okay, so if you see, it's the same 50719 and it's not taking into account what's the value after the decimal point because it rounds down your number, not rounds up. So 50 after the decimal does not matter to this formula. You might be wondering, bro, this formula is similar to the round down function which we have seen. So now let's go back to the round down formula and see once again what was that formula. So first of all, let me change this cell to the same example only so that you guys can refer better and press enter. So you see the values you are getting is the same. This also rounds down the value and this also rounds down the value. So what is the difference? The difference you see is in the argument. This has only one argument which has the number in it, but round down has two arguments. So this has the number of digits as well. If you want the number to show one decimal point, then you can change it to 1 and you see it shows 0.50. Okay, you can remove the indent, you can remove or increase the decimal from here, or you can change it to 3, 4, 5 for example. It rounds down to 5. So I hope you got the difference between round down and int formula. These were top 20 functions, mathematical functions that are most widely used all over the world in MS Excel. In the coming videos, we are going to learn about some logical functions. So stay tuned guys, subscribe the channel and also let me know if there are any other videos you have in mind that you want me to cover it. Thanks guys, signing off.